6 Music.
This is BBC Radio
6 Music.
Tonight from 8, Stuart McConey's Freak Zone. At 6, Now Playing with Tom Robinson.
BBC Radio 6 Music.
Right now, it's Jarvis Cocker's Sunday Service.
That's the colour of my room where I will live. Blue, blue. Pale blinds drawn all day. Nothing to read, nothing to say. Blue, blue. I will sit right down, waiting for the gift of sound and vision. See, waiting for the gift of sound and vision, drifting into my solitude, over my head. Don't you wonder sometimes about sound and vision? About sound and vision. Sound and vision.
Well, he certainly gave us the gift of sound and vision, and very much more. It will come as no surprise to you to know that this Sunday service is dedicated to the work of Mr. David Bowie. We'll be hearing from the man himself, both in speech form and in music form, and hoping to answer this question: where are we now?
Had to get the train from Potsdamer Platz. You never knew that I could do that, just walking the dead. Sitting in the jungle under the Strasse, a man lost in time near Cardiff, just walking the dead. Where are we now? Where are we now? The moment you know, you know, you know. 20,000 people crossbars and Buka, fingers are crossed just in case, walking the dead. Where are we now? Where are we now? The moment you know, as long as there's sun, as long as there's rain, as long as there's rain, as long as there's fire, as long as there's fire, as long as there's me, as long as there's you.
Welcome to the Sunday service. If you were listening last week, you remember that I pointed out that the reign of the Lord of Misrule was coming to an end. Came to an end at midnight on the 6th of December, and lo, at midnight on the 6th of December, as the 6th of December became the 7th of December, that song you just heard appeared. And thus, the reign of the Lord of Misrule changed to the reign of Lord Bowie. 3 wise men came following yonder star man waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. Or maybe he would. Well, if you're wondering what's going on there, that was back in January 2013, and I got so excited by the fact that David Bowie had released a new single that I even got my months mixed up. I was referring to December, we were actually talking about January. In January 2013, that's when it released his first new material in a very long time, that single, Where Are We Now? And maybe that's part of why there's been an outpouring of emotion at his passing, the fact that he was quiet for so long and then suddenly surprised everyone by coming back in the manner that he did. Anyway, we're going to kind of talk about stuff like that during the course of this programme. The whole programme is dedicated to the life and work of David Bowie. If you're thinking there's a strange sound to my voice today, that's because this show is actually coming from my spare room in Paris. I was supposed to have this Sunday off, but due to the events that unfolded, we wanted to bring you a tribute to David Bowie, and I have to thank Adam Deneen, my producer, who does sterling work every week, but especially this week he's had to take up the slack and put this show together at very short notice, so thank you, Adam. Let's get on with it. Let's go back to the beginning, I suppose, or an early part of Bowie. We all have childhood ambitions. We all wonder about what we want to be when we grow up. What did David Bowie want to be when he grew up?
I never knew really if I wanted to be a short story writer. A singer really was the last thing I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to write words down in some kind of either poem form or prose form, and I wrote them as little stories, and it seemed quite easy to set them to music, so they became songs. I guess if I hadn't had any sort of musical inspiration of any kind, I would have been a writer. I was a straight writer. I would have written novels, I think.
People stared at the makeup on his face, laughed at his long black hair, his animal grace. The boy in the bright blue jeans jumped up on the stage, and Lady Stardust sang her songs of darkness and dismay, and he was all right. The band was all together, and he was all fatales emerged from shadows to watch this creature fair. Boys stood up on their chairs to make their point of view, and I smiled sadly for a love I could not obey. And Lady Stardust sang his songs of darkness and dismay, and he was all right. The band was all together, and he was all right. His song went on forever, and he was awful nice. Really quite out of sight, and he sang all night long. Oh, how I lied when they asked if I knew his name, for he was all right. The band was all together, and he was all right. His song went on forever, and he was awful nice. Really quite paradise, and he sang all night long.
Yeah, that's been sort of a part of the family, really. Well, the family's nuts. Frankly, they're all pretty crazy. There's quite an amount of insanity within any family, I think. I think we just got more than our share. But it's better to sort of recognise the angels and devils within oneself, I think. And that prevents true insanity. I'm no more insane than the next man. But I keep making myself aware of how flighty I am and what a grasshopper I am and how my moods change such a lot, so drastically. And even my persona privately changes a lot. There's one minute I can be quite verbose and articulate, and the next minute I feel like a stumbling Philistine. I can't express anything, and I can't even think the same way, and my points of view change all the time. I think as long as you keep recognising it, and you kind of stand outside whoever's taken over at the time, and the other one stands outside and has a look.
Watching him dash away, swinging an old bouquet, white roses, sake and strange divine. You'll make it. Passion with bright young things takes him away to war. Don't fake it, sagging the sandal strings. You'll make it. We'll love a lot insane. Battle cries and champagne, just in time for sunrise. We'll love a lot insane. Motor sensational, Paris or maybe hell. I'm waiting, clutches of sad remains. Waits for a lad insane. You'll make it. We'll love a lot insane. Millions sweet fountain, just in case of sunrise. We'll love a lot insane. We'll love a lot insane. Love a lot insane.
You heard Aladdin Sane, and before that a demo version of Lady Stardust, of course by David Bowie. And I guess this is one of those events, you know, that you hear about. Everybody remembers where they were on the day when a certain event happened. I had to travel to Paris, and I got to Paris, and that evening, after putting my son to bed, I thought, I can't stay in, I've got to be amongst people and hopefully go somewhere where I can hear some of David Bowie's music. So I called a friend, and we went to a bar up the road, and sure enough they were playing Bowie music, and we sat there having a drink enjoying that. Under Pressure came on, not my favourite Bowie song, and it seemed that somebody had turned a smoke machine on, and I thought, I'm trying to get some dancing going. And then suddenly there was some shouting and a door was opened and I could see flames, and basically the kitchen of the bar had set on fire and everybody was evacuated and the fire brigade was called. So apart from all the events that happened before that, is one day I certainly won't forget in a long time. And I'm sure a lot of you out there also have got memories associated with that particular day. Let's move on. Another of the things about Bowie, of course, that everybody goes on about is the personas that he adopted throughout his career and the variety in his music. We're going to have a look now at the fact that he appeared in films as well, and I suppose the most famous of those films is The Man Who Fell to Earth, directed by Nick Rogue. I think some of the music on the second side of Low maybe was supposed to be in that film at some point. A Bowieologist could probably tell you whether that's true or not. In my mind it's true. Anyway, I know for sure that it's a picture of him from the film that's on the cover of that album. So let's hear music from Low from the second side. This is Art Decade.
I think Nick realised I had some serious problems at the time and just thought, he's perfect. Just put him in, just change his clothes, just put him in as he is, let him just walk through it. And I did. I mean, I was just out of my skull on that movie. But I was a good boy. I turned up on time and I did, everything I was supposed to do. But it really was Nick's film. I mean, I don't think I really had any kind of say in how I was going to do anything in that movie. He said, right, now look left, and I looked left, and that was it.
Look up here, I'm in heaven. I've got scars that can't be seen. I've got drama, can't be stolen. Everybody knows me now. Look up here, man, I'm in danger. I've got nothing left to lose. I'm so high it makes my brain whirl. Drop my cell phone down below. Just like me.
From the off-Broadway show of the same name, that's Lazarus, which apparently the story of the show is it's a continuation of the story of the man who fell to earth. And before that, you heard Bowie talking about his work on that film. But of course, the song Lazarus, since David Bowie's passing, has been taken generally as being like a self-written epitaph. And I think that's another thing that people seem to, certainly I've discussed it with friends, this thing that in the age of the internet and reality TV and the confessional mode generally in the mass media, the idea that someone wouldn't go that path and would actually turn their life into a work of art rather than telling everybody about it, and to control the manner in which you pass from this life into another form or whatever happens after you die, I guess, is kind of a little bit of a mind blower. And maybe that's another reason why people have taken this death to heart so much, that it's in a way shows us something that we may have lost a little bit, that attitude towards life. Anyway, let's try and obviously it's a sad time, but I think also let's not forget all the joy and pleasure that David Bowie brought to millions of people around the world. And this is a story of something that happened just last year at the Glastonbury Festival. I'm going to be repeating an interview with Michael Clarke in the middle hour of the show. Michael Clarke, of course, contemporary dancer and has the Michael Clarke Company. Now, the Michael Clarke Company were performing at Glastonbury last year, and they were still around when my compatriot Steve Mackey and myself did some DJing as the Desperate Sound System in a tent at Glastonbury, and they very graciously said they'd come along and dance during our DJ set. So, if you know anything about the Michael Clarke Company, you'll know that they have choreographed routines that go with many of his songs, one of which is Jean Genie. So they said, right, OK, if you want us to do something, we'll do it to Jean Genie. Well, we didn't have Jean Genie on a CD or anything. Luckily, I had my copy of Changes One Bowie, the Greatest Hits album, and it was on that. So we put it on vinyl. The dance troupe came on stage, started doing their routine. But unfortunately, every time they did a jump or anything, it made the record jump as well. So we're having a big problem. So Steve and myself had to pick up the record player and stand there for the whole duration of the song so that it wouldn't jump when they were doing it. And it worked, and it was very funny, and something that I will remember, and another example of David Bowie, however indirectly, bringing joy to people's lives. Well, we're going to go to news time with that very song, Jean Genie, but have you ever asked yourself, who could it be about? Well, I'll let the man himself tell you.
Jean Genie really was an ode to Iggy, I think, or I guess the Iggy type person. White trash, kind of trailer park kid, you know, closet intellectual, all that stuff. Wouldn't want the world knows that he reads. I think it's a really good song, and I enjoy playing it and singing it. It's one of the few that I can keep going back to. I guess because it's so essentially rooted in straight old-fashioned blues. I mean, it's basically Muddy Waters' I'm a Man, isn't it?
Small Jean Genie snuck off to the city, strung out on lasers and slashback blazers, and ate all your razors while pulling the waders, talking about Monroe, walking on Snow White. New York's a go-go and everything tastes nice. Poor little greenie. Jean Genie lives on his back. The Jean Genie loves chimney stacks. His outrageous screams and he falls. The Jean Genie, let yourself go. Sits like a man, but smiles like a reptile. She loved him, but just for a short while. Scratching the sand, let go of his hand. He says he's a beautician, sells you nutrition, keeps all your dead hair for making up underwear. Poor little greenie. The Jean Genie lives on his back. The Jean Genie loves chimney stacks. His outrageous, he screams and he moans. The Jean Genie, let yourself go.
time.
Six Music. This is BBC Radio.
Six Music.
With the BBC News at 4:30, this is Harvey Cook. Jeremy Corbyn suggested that Labour could keep Britain's nuclear submarine fleet, but without Trident missiles. The Labour leader is opposed to renewing Trident, but he faces opposition from trade unions in the defence industry. The Unite leader Len McCluskey wants Mr Corbyn to give Labour MPs a free vote on the issue. Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell was asked how committed the party leadership was to scrapping Trident.
There's a policy that many of us will advocate should be in the manifesto, but we'll take into everyone's views. Len's union's views will be critical because they represent the workers there. And one of the key things that Len and I both agree upon, those workers' jobs will be guaranteed. We do not want to lose jobs, full stop.
A man who was left brain dead after suffering serious side effects during a drugs trial in France has died. 5 other volunteers became seriously ill after testing a new painkiller at a private lab in Rennes. The hospital treating them says some could have permanent brain damage. Police have arrested a 34-year-old woman in Chester on suspicion of murder. She's being held in connection with the death of Sadie Hartley, who was found with stab wounds at her home in the village of Helmshaw in Lancashire on Friday. 2 climbers have been killed in Glencoe in the Scottish Highlands. Emergency services were called yesterday afternoon. Andy Nelson is the leader of the Glencoe Mountain Rescue Team.
We received a call from the police to say that 2 other climbers on the hill had come across 2 bodies lying in the snow at the bottom of one of the crags. The 16 Glencoe team members went up to the site and then eventually carried the bodies off the hill.
Yeah, and Liverpool Wayne Rooney scored his first goal at Liverpool since 2005 to give Manchester United a 1-0 victory. That's the BBC News.
This is BBC Radio 6 Music.
6 Music.
6 Music.
Very sweet, always eats a meat. Joy comes on strong, bet your life is putting the song. Oh loaded, you know I need some knowing. Ooh, touch me. I wanna dance. She turns me on when I'm on the dance. She turns me on. Life's a well-thought machine. So you're watching from the stairs. Yet everyone that ever cared. Oh loaded, you know I need some loving. Ooh, touch me. I'm on the dance. She turns me on when I'm on the dance. She turns me on. Don't get me wrong, I'm on the dance.
Welcome back to the Sunday service. This is the Sunday service for the 17th of January 2016, and it's an appreciation of the life and work of David Bowie. You heard there a kind of slightly rare saxophone version of John, I'm Only Dancing. Thought it was a fairly appropriate introduction for the person who I'm going to feature in this next hour of the programme. As I say, 17th of January 2016 is the date of this show, but I want you to cast your mind back to the 8th of January 2012. That was David Bowie's 65th birthday, and it happened to fall on a Sunday, so we thought that we'd better mark it on the programme. And I was lucky enough to persuade choreographer, dancer Michael Clark to come into the show and talk about how he'd been inspired by Bowie and his memories of Bowie and his take on Bowie, basically. We're going to repeat that interview for you now. The first voice you will hear is that of David Bowie's first manager, Ken Pitt, talking about how David Jones became David Bowie.
I was in America at the time, and I'd suggested he ought to change his name because of the emerging monkeys, David Jones. And when I got back from America, he said, "Oh, incidentally, I'm David Bowie." I said, "How do you do?" As I understand it, he'd read about the Bowie knife, which I didn't know about. I'd never heard of a Bowie knife, but he knew about it. And I suppose I had little childhood fantasies about Jim Bowie. And he wanted to be Jim Bowie that week, so he said, "I know I'm going to be David Bowie."
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today. For here am I sitting in a tin can. For
Well, here I am. I'm a bit sort of mixed up creatively. I've got all these things going I like doing at once on stage or whatever. I'm not quite sure if I'm a mime or a songwriter or a singer, or do I want to go back to painting again? Why am I doing any of these things anyway? And I realised it was because I wanted to be well known, basically, and that I wanted to be thought of as somebody who was very much a trendy person, rather than a trend. I didn't want to be a trend. I wanted to be the instigator of new ideas. I wanted to turn people onto new things and new perspectives. I always wanted to be that sort of catalytic kind of thing. And so I had to govern everything around that. And I just pulled myself in and decided to use the easiest medium to start off with as rock and roll, and then add bits and pieces to it over the years, so that really by the end of it I was my own medium. I mean, that'll happen hopefully one day. That's why I do it all, is to become a medium.
Well, there we are, David Bowie talking about wanting to become a medium. I'd like to welcome to the Sunday service my guest for today, the choreographer and dancer Michael Clark. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Jarvis.
Hi. I played Space Oddity there. That's the first Bowie record I've really got a recollection of. I think I would be right in saying you're kind of a lifelong Bowie fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Can you remember your first kind of, when you first saw him?
I heard him, I think, before I saw him, but saw him on Top of the Pops performing Starman, which many, many people remember at that moment when he put his arm casually around Big Ronson's shoulders. It was just that something so simple could be such a major, what he just said about being a catalyst is really what I consider him. Change is kind of like what he's all about, really, and that changed me, definitely, and many of his songs have changed me in many ways.
Yeah, well, like you say, a lot of people quote that particular performance. I can't remember that. I mean, I'm surprised because I did watch Top of the Pops quite religiously, but somehow I must have missed that one.
I'd never seen men make physical contact apart from punching each other. Right. I'm absolutely serious.
Yeah.
It was shocking. It was very provocative, but exciting.
It did seem to kind of stick in people's minds, and I wonder whether maybe that's the thing. You say you didn't see men touch each other except to hit each other. When I was thinking about this today, it struck me that it was like if you got into Bowie and you kind of started dressing in that way, then that could be a kind of a dangerous thing as well. I don't know if did you like get into the clothes that like change the way you kind of appeared and stuff?
Yeah, no, I certainly have been beaten up for the way I was dressed in the past, yes. It wasn't necessarily the gesture being somehow gay, or then it would have been considered queer. It was just the otherness, the kind of I personally felt so self-conscious physically. I couldn't play sport because of that. Painfully self-conscious. And here was somebody who was using their self-consciousness in a positive way.
And it seems to be that is a thing about him, that he seemed to kind of... it's like a lot of people at that point must have been feeling a similar thing. And I guess that's why people took him so much to heart, you know. It was like, it's okay to be a bit different or to feel not comfortable or whatever.
Yes, I think probably where I come from, if you were straight, you'd probably veer towards Roxy music rather than Bowie. It was it was a divide of some kind, but that changed.
Now we're going to play Sorrow next, and I believe, if I understood you correctly, maybe this was the first David Bowie record that you actually owned.
Oh, definitely. Yes, it was.
And how did you come to own it?
I had to collect wigwam packets.
What were wigwams?
Triangular crisps.
Right.
Yeah, they're delicious. I didn't mind collecting the packages.
Unfortunately, they don't seem to do them anymore.
I know, it's a shame. But Sorrow, and I think the B-side was Amsterdam, I think. Could it have
That's
been?
a strange thing to get with a packet of crisps. That's a Jack Brel song that, surely. So you'd save up, 10 crisp packets?
Probably 10.
And then you sent them in and got a single through the post.
Yeah, which I was thrilled about. I thought it was an amazing thing to do.
That is great, actually, yeah. Well, let's hear it. This isn't the actual copy, but let's listen to Sorrow by David Bowie.
Trying
You're listening to Jarvis Cocker's Sunday Service on BBC Six Music. Yes, you are. And I'm here with my guest, Michael Clark, and we're talking about David Bowie. I mentioned one of his incarnations there, the Thin White Duke. There's been Aladdin Sane, Ziggy Stardust. You know, what do you make of this thing of him kind of taking on personas and then moving on and stuff like that?
I was thinking that, you know, his act was always an act, in inverted commas, wasn't it? I'm not saying he's not a good actor, but it was always like a conscious act, in inverted commas, and that was a kind of new idea to me anyway, that you could be acting. Do you know what I mean? In a knowing way. I didn't take that side of it too seriously, but certainly the kind of putting on a costume and makeup and becoming somebody else.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering about, that maybe that's a kind of liberating idea, that you're not stuck with, you know, where you are or what you're supposed to be, that you can kind of invent something else or change. Or
I totally had that feeling in a piece called New Puritans, where Lee Berry did costumes for us with the bare bums and quite extreme makeup, sort of Picasso-esque. And I felt like I could become somebody else and do things that I might have thought about doing but wouldn't dare do normally.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's one of the things with Bowie. I think it's on record that that's kind of why he wanted to kill Ziggy Stardust off, because it started off as an idea of a rock star, because he'd been going for quite a number of years without that much success, and kind of invented this crazed rock star who then actually did become a rock star, but then everybody thought it was him, and then he started acting a bit like him. So I think that's why he had to kill it off.
Yes.
I think that is, you know, it's often a thing that people talk about Bowie, and sometimes it seems that people apply it negatively by saying that, as you say, because he's acting or because he's got a persona in some way, that means that his music's not so authentic. I would imagine that you probably disagree with that.
I completely disagree. I mean, I just kind of studying him, his behaviour was fascinating to me initially. I mean, just things like the tissue incident when he...
Oh, you're talking about the Cracked Actor documentary.
Yeah, it's just about pronunciation, about or inflection maybe of how you say something. Became suddenly, it could be done differently. I mean, just the kind of always manicured nails and quite strange things that one picked up on.
Well, there was a great attention to detail.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
I remember that. I've never met him face to face, but I've spoken to him on the telephone once. I was asked to interview him about smoking for some reason in the Big Issue magazine.
Wow.
And he was talking about, obviously he applied the same stringent kind of methods to smoking. He had to smoke gitans, I believe, and they had to be lit with a match. He couldn't use a lighter, wouldn't have a lighter. You know, so obviously, you know, every single gesture and every single part of the persona was thought out.
But also the whole, not just him and his behaviour and the costumes, but the whole look of a tour was kind of that German word that I can't say, but it includes everything.
Right, okay.
You know the one?
I don't know, but it's...
It's one that means everything's included, meaning visually, orally. It's a complete artwork.
Okay.
In a way, which I think
that sounds like a good word. I wish I did know it.
It begins with a G and ends with work. But
Geschultenwerk or something.
Exactly, you got it. Yes.
All right, okay. Sounds like it should be. You mentioned Starman, and you recommended this. We're going to play a version of Starman now. I have to apologise to listeners. The recording quality isn't so great, but it's a good moment. I believe this is from a concert at the Rainbow Theatre in London, where he performs Starman, and if you listen just a bit more than 2 minutes in, you'll hear something interesting where the song veers away from its normal thing. I'm not going to spoil the surprise by telling you exactly what it is, but keep your ears open, okay?
Sky, so the
TV, we may pick 'em up on Channel 2. Look out your window, I can see its light, and make it sparkle and dance tonight, Oh, Charlie Bonbon, you get us swept up and right. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he blew our minds. And there's a starman waiting in the sky. He told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told us, let the children use it, let the children choose it, let all the children move it. Starman over the rainbow, way up high. And he told me, let the children use it, let the children choose it, let all the children move it.
It was actually meant to be a male version of Judy Garland's Over the Rainbow. You know, I mean, that's, yeah, there's a take on that. But Starman is in fact somewhere over the rainbow. And I just went from there and just took it somewhere else to be, you know, this thing. Because it was like so, any day, it'll come, it'll be for me, one of those things.
From the David Bowie album Heroes, that Sense of Doubt. You're listening to an archive interview between myself and the dancer and choreographer Michael Clarke, originally broadcast on the Sunday service on the occasion of David Bowie's 65th birthday. That was the 8th of January 2012. The title of the show, have I got it right? Come, Been and Gone.
Yes.
So this was a show based on music of mainly Bowie, but a bit of Iggy Pop.
The idea was that kind of trio of Iggy Pop, Lou Reed and Bowie, but Bowie's kind of the central focus of it.
I suppose, as we said, you know, Bowie's been a central figure for you, but how did you kind of come round to the idea of actually using his music in your work?
I think probably it was the video for Heroes that I'd seen and really wanted to see if I could rise to the challenge of doing something with that projected, with a dance going on. It's very hard. It's a bit like amplified sound. It's visual amplification, gives a different sort of challenge. I'm not sure if I succeeded in meeting the challenge.
Well, I saw it and I thought it worked great. I mean, for a start, it was really nice to hear that music loud.
Yes.
And then also, by seeing a dance piece done to it, I don't know, it kind of... There were songs that you were kind of familiar with, but, you know, you're in the Barbican for a start, so it was kind of, you know, you sat down. And, I don't know, it just made you kind of listen to it and think of the songs in a different way. And I thought, I don't go and see a lot of dance stuff, but it worked for me. That's what I'm trying to say, Michael. It worked for me.
I think it comes across that I love the music, and not all my work has got such accessible music. So I hope there's a generosity about the piece that's not always characteristic of what I've done in the past.
We're going to play a piece now which is, I think this is something that you were saying the other day you wanted to use in the show, but you couldn't. It's a Nina Simone song called For Women that then goes into the David Bowie song Sweet Thing.
Yes.
Now, Nina Simone and David Bowie aren't two artists that I'd put together straight away, so can you explain a bit of the thinking of how this happened?
It was as simple as she's talking about 4 characters. She gets to the third, who's a prostitute, who's called Sweet Thing, which then goes into the song by Bowie, which is about a rent boy, I guess. I was thinking about it, thinking in very different ways. It was about change. I mean, for Nina Simone, it may have been a more political idea of change for political reasons, but I also think what Bowie did had political implications too. But certainly he was a catalyst for change through his work. As a moment, it's a bit like, of course, Over the Rainbow didn't just occur to him then. He'd considered it and they'd worked it out. But it has a feeling of something just came into his mind. And as an audience member, you get that feeling of, oh my goodness, that's a moment where somehow your perception has been altered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, where you feel like it's not just a showbiz thing, that somebody's coming up with it a bit off the cuff, kind of inventing it as they go along a little bit.
Yes.
It kind of breaks the wall down a little bit, doesn't it?
It's a bit like him changing very radically from one LP to another. People get comfortable with one you, and then you become another you. And it's like, hold on, where are we going to go next? Which is, it can be a trap in itself, but it was certainly exciting.
Shows that he's paying attention and not just... Because usually people just kind of settle into one thing and then just kind of milk that until it runs dry, don't they?
Unfortunately, Yes.
And on that bombshell, let's listen to Nina Simone as she morphs into David Bowie at some point.
Black, my arms are long, my hair is woolly, my back is strong, strong enough to take the pain inflicted again and again. What do they call me? My name is Aunt Sarah. My name is Aunt Sarah. Aunt Sarah. My skin is yellow, my hair is long, two worlds I do belong. My father was rich and white. He forced my mother late one night. What do they call me? My name is Saffronia. My name is Saffronia. My skin is tan. My hair is fine. My hips invite you. My mouth like wine. Whose little girl am I? Anyone who has money to buy. What do they call me? My name is Sweet Thing. My name is Sweet
Thing. It's safe in the city to love in a dull way, to wrangle some screams from the door.
And isn't it me putting pain in a stranger, like a portrait in flash, trails on a leash? Will you see? Glad that you're older than me. Makes me feel important and free. Does that make you smile? Isn't that me? I'm in your way, and I'll steal every moment. If this trade is a curse, then I'll bless you and turn to the crossroads of hamburgers.
It's a sweet thing. Boys, boys, it's a sweet thing, sweet thing.
If you want it, boys,
get it here, thing. Boys, it's a cheap thing, cheap thing. deal. Like any other candidate, you'll pretend we're walking home, cause your future's at stake. My set is amazing, it even smells like a street. There's a bar at the end where I could meet you and your friend. Someone scrawled on the wall, I smell the blood of their tree cutters. Wrote up scandals in other bars. We're having so much fun with the poisonous people, spreading rumors and lies on stories they made up. Some make you sing and some make you scream. One makes you wish that you've never been seen. But there's a shop on the corner that's selling papier-mâché, making bulletproof faces. Charlie Manson catches playing if you want it. Boys, better hear this. So you scream out of line, I want you, I need you. Anyone out there? Anytime? Trig whistling number one, say dirty, I want you. When it's good, it's really good, and when it's bad, I gotta be safe. I want it. Boys, get it here, baby. Well, on the street where you live, I put my hold on my head, for I put all I had in another bed. On another floor, in the back of the car, in a cellar like a church with a door jar. Well, I guess we must be looking for a different kind, but we can't stop trying till we break up our minds, till the sun drips down on the seedier nights. We bless you on the ground while shaking in fright. I guess we could cruise down one more time. With you on our side, it should be fine. We'll buy some drugs and watch a band, and jump in a river holding hands. If you want it, boys, get it here, thing. 'Cause hope, boys, is a cheap thing, cheap thing. Is it lights in your snowstorm, freezing your brain? Do you think that your face looks the same? Then let it be. It's all I ever wanted. It's a street with a deal and a taste. It's got balls, it's got me, it's got you.
They'd been able to break into windows of jewellers and things, so they dressed themselves up in furs and diamonds and all that, but they had snaggled teeth and they were really filthy. They were kind of like violent Oliver Twists You know, it was a take on if those guys had gone malicious, you know, if it was like Fagin's gang that had gone absolutely apeshit and they were living on the tops of buildings. And I got that from my father's work at Dr. Bernardo's homes, because Dr. Bernardo and Lord Shaftesbury had once gone on the top of the roofs of the City of London and found all these urchins living up there. And that always stayed in my mind as being an extraordinary image of all these kids living up on the roofs of London, you know. And so I had the Diamond Dogs were living on the roofs of London, you know, and they were all little Johnny Rottens and Sid Viciouses, really. And there was no means of transport, so in my mind they were all rolling around on these roller skates with huge wheels on. I don't know why, but had huge wheels, and they squeaked because they hadn't been oiled properly. So there's these gangs of squeaking, roller skating, vicious hoods, you know, with Bowie knives and like furs on. And they were all skinny because they had eaten enough, and they were funny coloured hair, and like it was in a way a precursor to what sort of was a punk thing.
Yeah, David Bowie on the Diamond Dogs, and then that music that is from Diamond Dogs, isn't it?
Yes,
Sweet
yes.
Thing and Candidate. The choice of my guest today, Michael Clark. We're kind of hurtling towards the news now, so I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned Heroes before, and how that was kind of like in a way, there was like the centrepiece of the dance piece that you did, wasn't it?
Starting point, so it's like raising a challenge for myself to try and meet something that I think is a great piece of work.
Mm. And as you say, you use this, there's a video made by, I think, somebody called Walter Stern, is that right? And it's a very striking video, because it's not like a modern pop video, is it? Not much happens.
I think it's Stan Dorfman, but it's very strong.
Yeah, he just kind of stands
One
there.
light from behind him,
yeah.
Very kind of monolithic looking, but obviously projected, so he's on a much larger scale than us. By the end of the song, he's kind of on our scale. That was kind of the idea. He's one of us, we are one of him.
But that's the song that I always kind of, you know, when people say, oh yeah, Bowie, we mentioned it before, the fact that he takes on personas and stuff, and so he doesn't mean it in some way. That's the song that I always say, well, you know, how can you say that? If you listen to the way he sings Heroes, there's no kind of distance. It's such an emotionally kind of raw song, isn't it?
Yeah, the inverted commas of Heroes, I never really thought, it kind of makes it something else that it isn't. I think it feels genuine to me.
Let's have a listen to it. We're playing the German version, so this is Helden. What was that German word we had earlier as well?
Gesamtkunstwerk, baby.
Yeah, there you see. And an all-encompassing artwork. And here is Helden, Heroes sung in German by David Bowie.
Niemand gibt uns eine Chance, doch können wir sie dann für immer und immer. Und wir sind dann Helden für einen Tag.
Helden, the German version of Heroes by David Bowie. You've been listening to an interview that was originally conducted back in 2012 with the dancer and choreographer Michael Clark. And because our conversation went down many interesting tangents, there was a section that we were unable to broadcast at the time, but we're able to bring you that now. We're talking about Bowie. Well, you'll hear in a minute a clip of Bowie talking about how he loved to combine a European sensibility with an American R&B sensibility. And then you'll hear an actual exposition of that, a track called Foot Stomping by the Flares, which he is on record as saying was the inspiration for the kind of feel of his song Fame, the track that he wrote with John Lennon that was featured on the Young Americans album. Anyway, instead of having me haltingly explain that to you, why not listen to the man himself?
What was happening for me is that this European take on melody against American music was something that I found just really kind of fascinating. And it became more and more evident through my career when you got to things like Heroes and whatever. It was that really was a soaring European kind of quality over this fundamentally American black rhythm and blues thing. And those are the two areas that really I found always really rejuvenating to keep putting together time and time again. That's probably one of the continuums through my music.
news time.
6 Music. This is BBC Radio
6 Music.
And with BBC News at 5:30, this is Harvey Cook. President Obama has said the nuclear deal with Iran, which led to the lifting of international sanctions last night, has cut off every path the Iranians had to obtaining atomic weapons. 5 American citizens detained in Iran have been released and are returning home as part of a prisoner swap. In a statement, Mr. Obama said the agreement showed what could be achieved with strong diplomacy.
Now that Iran's actions have been verified, it can begin to receive relief from certain nuclear sanctions and gain access to its own money that had been frozen. And perhaps most important of all, we've achieved this historic progress through diplomacy without resorting to another war in the Middle East.
2 climbers have been confirmed dead in Glencoe, Scottish Highlands. They've been on Stop Corrie Nan Breath in wintry conditions. The BBC understands that more than 1,000 jobs are to go at Tata steel plants in Wales because of plunging global steel prices. 3/4 of the redundancies are expected to be in Britain's largest plant in Port Talbot. A man has died after taking a new type of painkiller during a drugs trial in a French hospital. He was among 6 volunteers who fell ill at the Rennes University Hospital last week. The Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has suggested that Britain could retain the submarines which carry its nuclear weapons, but send them to sea without the warheads. The Conservatives say the idea shows Mr Corbyn is a threat to national security. Some of Labour's union supporters are also against the scrapping of Trident. The head of the Unite Union, Len McCluskey, wants Labour MPs to be allowed to vote according to their consciences on the renewal of Britain's nuclear weapons.
The government are going to place, probably before the summer, the main gate proposals to Parliament about the submarines that will be built in Barrow, and these will go through one way or another. Jeremy will have to decide on whether he's going to give a free vote to Labour MPs.
And that's the BBC News. Back more at 6:30.
This is BBC Radio 6 Music.
6 Music.
6 Music.
Fill your heart with love today. Don't play the game of time. Things that happened in the past just happened in your mind, only in your mind. Forget your mind and you'll be free. The writing's on the wall, free, yeah, and you can know it all if you choose. Lovers never lose, 'cause they are free of thoughts unpure and of thoughts unkind. Gentleness can clear the soul. Love cleans the mind and makes it free.
The original version of Fill Your Heart by Biff Rose, and of course David Bowie did a version of that on Hunky Dory. And I thought that could bring us to an appreciation or an examination of Bowie's cover versions. He did quite a few throughout his career. Now, Bowie sings Morrissey, anyone? Yeah? Well, on his album Your Arsenal, produced by Mick Ronson, Morrissey did a song called I Know It's Gonna Happen Someday, and apparently the story goes that Bowie heard that song and thought that the song was a pastiche of his own track, Rock and Roll Suicide, and so did his own version of it, which I think, if I remember correctly, was on the Black Tie White Noise album. But anyway, let's hear David Bowie sings Morrissey.
Wherever you are.
David. This is Scott Walker. I'm coming to you via a very crappy old handheld tape machine, so I hope it's all right. I'm going to be a devil today and not ask you any questions. I'm certain that among the many messages, there'll be those about how you always embrace the new and how you freed so many artists. And this is, of course, true. Like everyone else, I'd like to thank you for all the years, and especially for your generosity of spirit when it comes to other artists. I've been the beneficiary on more than one occasion, let me tell you. So have a wonderful birthday. And by the way, mine's the day after yours. So I'll have a drink to you on the other side of midnight. How's that?
Wow. That's amazing. Oh, I see God in the window.
He's the boss, isn't he, Scott Walker? You've absolutely got to love him.
Damn, you really got to me there, I'm afraid. That's, I think he's probably been my idol since I was a kid. That's very moving. I want a copy of that.
You can have it, you can take it away.
I'm absolutely, that's really thrown me. That's, thank you very much.
In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who sings of the dreams that he brings from the wide open sea. In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who sleeps while the riverbank weeps to the old willow tree. In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who dies, full of beer, full of cries, in a drunken town fight. In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who's born on a hot, muggy morn by the dawn's early light. In the port of Amsterdam, where the sailors all meet, there's a sailor who eats only fish heads and tails, and he'll show you his teeth that have rotted too soon, that can haul up the sails, that can swallow the moon. And he yells to the cook with his arms open wide, "Hey, bring me more fish, throw it down by my side." And he wants so to belch, but he's too full to try. So he stands up and laughs, and he zips up his fly. In the port of Amsterdam, you can see sailors dance, haunches bursting their pants, grinding women to punch. They've forgotten the tune that their whiskey voice croaked, splitting the night with the roar of their jokes. And they turn and they dance and they laugh and they lust, till the rancid sound of the accordion bursts. And then out of the night, with their pride and their pants, and the sluts that they tow underneath the street lamps. In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who drinks, and he drinks and he drinks, and he drinks once again. He'll drink to the health of the whores of Amsterdam, who've given their bodies to 1,000 other men. Yeah, they bargain their virtue, their goodness all gone, for a few dirty coins, when he just can't go on. Goes his nose to the sky instead of above, and he pisses like I cry on the unfaithful love. In the port of Amsterdam, in the port of Amsterdam,
You heard David Bowie's version of the Morrissey song, I Know It's Gonna Happen Someday. Then you heard a clip from back in January 1997 on the occasion of David Bowie's 50th birthday. He went into Radio 1 and was interviewed by Mary Ann Hobbs, our very own Six Music's Mary Ann Hobbs, and received a message from Scott Walker wishing him a happy birthday. And I think you could tell from that clip that he was pretty taken aback by that and quite moved by it. And then finally you heard the Jack Brel song, Amsterdam, a song that has been covered both by Scott Walker and by Bowie himself, and we heard Bowie's version. Well, we've been hearing bits of Bowie explaining and talking about his career, and I guess that's one of the things that he was known, people call him a chameleon, stuff like that. People are always trying to pin him down and say, you know, David, what's it all about? What are you trying to do? One of the rare occasions that he actually talked about his work came in 1999. He went to the Barclay College of Music in Boston, America, and talked to some music students there about creativity. And we've got that for you to listen to now. So this is David Bowie addressing the students of the Barclay College of Music back in 1999.
As always on occasions like this, I really never know what to do, which is pretty much the way that I've handled my career as a musician. I guess any list of advice I have to offer to a musician always ends with, if it itches, go and see a doctor. Real world. And that's not going to be of any help today. My sometimes collaborator, Brian Eno, described himself as a non-musician. Anyway, I describe myself, I think, as a bit of a non-musician. I took classes after seeing the Little Richard Band with, at that time, Britain's foremost baritone jazz player, Ronnie Ross. But I quickly found that what was written as it's a George Redman composition, West Coast band, 60s. You wouldn't know about it. When I started playing it, came out as so it seemed that, I guess, authenticity and a natural form of expression wasn't going to be my forte. In fact, what I found that I was good at doing and what I really enjoyed the most was the game of what if. What if you combined Brecht-Weill musical drama with rhythm and blues? Will Schoenberg lie comfortably with Little Richard? Can you put haggis and snails on the same plate? Well, no, but some of the ideas did work out very well. So I learned enough saxophone and guitar and what's euphemistically called composer's piano to get my ideas over to proper musicians, as we have here tonight. And then I went on a crusade, I suppose, to change the kind of information that rock music contained. I adored Coltrane, Harry Partch, Eric Dolphy, Velvet Underground, John Cage. Unfortunately, I also loved Anthony Newley, Florence Foster Jenkins, Johnny Ray, Julie London, the legendary Stardust Cowboy, Edith Piaf, and Shirley Bassey. So in short, I didn't feel comfortable as a folk singer or an R&B singer or a balladeer. I was drawn more and more to the idea of manipulation of signs rather than individual expression, a concept that really had its start in the late 50s with pop art. And by the early 70s, I found myself making what British writer Simon Frith described as art pop. It wasn't so much about how I felt about things, but rather how things around me felt. This all sounds, I suppose, quite dispassionate, but believe me, still, even now, when I hear the most fantastic solo being played on a CD and it's on the fade-out, I still rush over to the volume switch and bring it up in proportion to the way it's fading down so I can catch that last note. It still is very much my life. It's impossible for me to talk about popular music without mentioning of probably my greatest mentor, John Lennon. He defined for me at any rate how one could twist and turn the fabric of pop and imbue it with elements from other art forms, often producing something extremely beautiful, very powerful, and imbued with strangeness.
Surrealistically enough, we were first introduced in about 1974 by Elizabeth Taylor. We were in LA, and one night she had a party to which both John and I had been invited. So John was sort of, oh, here comes another new one. And I was sort of, it's John Lennon. Don't mention the Beatles, you'll look really stupid. And he said, hello, Dave. And I said, I've got everything you made, except the Beatles. These are just a few moments from my life. This moment is very definitely yours. Music has given me over 40 years of extraordinary experiences. I can't say that life's pains or more tragic episodes have been diminished because of it, but it's allowed me so many moments of companionship when I've been lonely, and a sublime means of communication when I've wanted to touch people. It's been both my doorway of perception and the house that I live in. I only hope that it embraces you with the same lusty life force that it graciously offered me. Thank you very much, and remember, if it itches, play it.
Something's very wrong. The post returns to prodigal sons, with blackouts, hearts, with flowered news, with skull designs upon my shoes. I can't give everything. I can't give everything.
going to go to the news with a track I keep putting it in the playlist, and then when we run out of time, I hope we can get to play most of it at least. David Bowie's Black Star track, which you'll probably have heard about. I'm having it as musical event of 2015. I don't think it's in the actual show Lazarus that's just opened in New York, which I haven't got to see, but have a look at the video. The video's quite amazing for this track, and I'm sure the show is interesting as well. And David's just David, isn't he? So, yeah, you're a musical event, David. That's all I've got to say about it. Yeah, and you lot, shut up and listen. I said shut up and listen. Respect. Respect. Respect indeed. From just a couple of weeks ago, that was me slightly amateurishly awarding Black Star Musical Event of the Year in the inaugural Jarvis Cocker Sunday Service Awards. That time Black Star was just a song, the album hadn't been released yet. But you just heard the final track on the album, I Can't Give Everything Away. And before that, you heard him talking to the students of the Barclay College of Music, not giving everything away, but certainly giving some bits of information away about his musical inspirations and how he viewed music. Well, we're almost at the end of this tribute to the life and work of David Bowie. All over Six Music, as you can imagine, everybody's been presenting their own tributes, beginning with Adam Buxton on Friday night. And if you want to catch up with any of those, they're all available on the iPlayer. Although this is the end of this programme, of course, it's not the end of Bowie. If you've listened to these programmes on Six Music over the weekend, you'll know the vast range of his work, and he will be entertaining and inspiring people for many, many years to come, because there's such a lot to explore and to discover with Bowie. We're going to end with a demo version of the song Quicksand, which was recommended by Adam, my producer, and I think it's a perfect way to end this programme, for reasons that hopefully will become apparent towards the end of the song. Thank you very much for listening today, and, well, normal service will be resumed next week.
I'm closer to the golden dawn, immersed in Crowley's uniform of imagery. I'm living in a silent film, portraying the endless sacred realm of dream reality. I'm frightened by the total goal, I'm drawing to the ragged hole, and I ain't got the power anymore. No, I ain't got the power anymore. I'm the twisted name on Garbo's eyes, I'm living proof of Churchill's lies, I'm destiny. I'm torn between the light and dark, where others see the target, divine symmetry. Should I kiss the viper's fang, or herald loud the death of man? I'm sinking in the quicksand of my thought, and I ain't got the power anymore. Don't believe in yourself, don't deceive with belief. Knowledge comes with its release. I'm not a prophet or a Stone Age man, just a mortal with potential of a Superman. I'm living on. I'm tethered to logic of Homo sapien, can't take my eyes from the great salvation of bullshit faith. I don't explain what you ought to know. You can tell me all about it on the next photo. I'm sinking in the quicksand of my thought, and I ain't got the power anymore. Don't believe in yourself, don't deceive with belief. Knowledge comes with death's release. Don't believe in yourself, don't deceive with belief. Knowledge comes with death's release. Don't believe in yourself, don't deceive with belief. Knowledge comes with death's release.
Goodbye, chaps.